So, Firefox no longer supports plugins, and there has to be a plugin. Let me get rid of that echo. There has to be a plugin to run Hangouts. Supposedly Google and Firefox are working on it. Not holding my breath till that gets resolved. So I think tomorrow I'm going to have to run two browsers. So I have to start the Hangout with Chromium. I can use the watch page on Firefox. I can do everything but a live Hangout. I don't know what's up with that other than Google, YouTube, wanting to force everyone into the Chromium browser, which at the moment doesn't work too well on Linux because there was an update or something, I'm not sure, several days ago that made Chromium incredibly slow, except in Hangouts. It works fine there, but it won't work on other pages. But no biggie, I guess. If I want to run a Hangout, I have to be on Chromium for that. Oh, well. Other than that, hey there, Derek. Yeah, I just decided to go the whole live stream to test this because I want to make sure it'll work for tomorrow. And I don't know why I can't do things the way I used to. Stuff is always changing, so. Anyway, we just chit-chat for a minute of something. Let's say weather's pretty good right now where I am, and there's a lot of trending 24/7 channels. Hey, Wendy. Good to see you again. Haven't seen you in a while. I don't know. What do you guys think of 24/7 channels? Do they help? Are they good? I don't know. And my mug says, what am I doing out of bed? It's a good question. See if I can hold that up to the camera. It looks mirrored to me. I don't know how it looks to you guys. But, yeah, 24/7 channels. There are some that show good content all the time, and they stream other people's stuff all the time. And you can learn things from that. And I think mostly what it does is it keeps a channel at the top of the search list, especially if there are a lot of viewers. And I'm not sure if that's a good thing or not, because there's a lot of other good content that the channel that's running 24/7 might miss that won't be seen. And I think a lot of people just go there for the endless rolling chat, actually. I'm sure it helps with advertising, but if you've got ad blockers, that's, not going to help anybody. Yeah, I just don't know. I think it would be better to just have websites that direct people to good channels. Yeah, I think, too, that it doesn't allow content creators the proper... I mean, it says who they are in a lot of cases. Sometimes they don't, but... and sometimes they only list the content creator at the start of a segment, and if you miss that, well, there you go. So, yeah, I just don't know about that. I think it's mostly, since it isn't original content, I don't know what good it's doing anybody but the 24/7 person's advertising revenue, perhaps. I don't know. Anyway, other than that, drama in various communities, endless. Yeah, live dramas. I think if people want to know who shills and agents are, just look at the people who run around calling everybody a shill and an agent. And that gets to the level of paranoia. There are people I don't like, and I say why. But that doesn't make them a shill or an agent. It just means I don't like them. I don't trust them. I don't like what behavior they exhibit. I don't trust their motives. So I think it's pointless for those. There's a small group of people who run around to every channel calling everybody a shill and an agent. So yeah, I try not on my channel to name names or do too many rant videos. Try to keep that to a minimum. I don't want that to be the character of my channel. And I think what people want, it's just like cable TV. You can get 500 channels of garbage. What you want is to be able to choose a few channels that you like and hope that they keep putting out good original content. As far as Flat Earth goes, I think there's a lot of evidence in support of it and little to none to support the ball Earth model. But I haven't seen any breakthroughs, any new evidence. It's mostly rehashing the old evidence for people coming into it, which is fine. But a lot of the community is going to stagnate if we don't find our way through this. Hey, Sophia, good to see you too. And others in the chat. I'd have to lean forward to see the names, but I don't know what to tell anybody to do. It's just like, hey, Billy, that's just like Christianity has been around for almost 2,000 years. And we mostly sit in, if there is a Sunday school, sit and tell each other what we already believe. Yeah, we keep going. And the thing that keeps us going is the need to bring other people in. And I think it's one of those 500 parallels that I've been seeing between Flat Earth and Christianity. Yeah, and as far as the drama goes and clearing your name, I knew before I got into YouTube that trying to defend yourself never works. It just keeps it going. All you do is you present your evidence of whatever is going on and leave it there and let people decide who they want to believe. And if people are that fickle that they're going to just hop from one person to the next based on who has the best comeback, then those aren't your friends anyway. But yeah, going around, I mean, I don't even go to many channels anymore. Mostly if I do go to the chat, I'll just say hi to people. Sometimes I'll go a few rounds with somebody saying something bad about the Bible or Flat Earth. But I spend a few minutes and then I move on because it's pointless. You can tell in a short time whether anybody is really questioning or whether they're just there to have fun at your expense and waste your time. So, but yeah, I mostly just fired this up to make sure that I can run tomorrow. And looks like I will be able to. And I don't think it's such a bad thing to have two browsers. It's just I have to fire up a different browser to run a Hangout. That's all. Or be in one, be in a live call. But yeah, there's always going to be disagreements. And I don't like the idea of simply pretending there are no disagreements. Some people's solution to the problem is to ignore differences of opinion or to never resolve past hurts. A lot of people say some pretty nasty things about other people, and then they want to move on. Of course they want to move on. Then that means they never have to deal with or face what they did. But that's their problem. And my reaction to that sort of thing, if somebody doesn't want to resolve an issue or they can't be talked to or they want to just forget about it because, like, for example, on the women in Christianity issue, there are people who say God is not the author of confusion, therefore let's not talk about it. That's easy for them to say because they're in the privileged class in that debate. So, of course, they don't want to talk about it. But people who are not in the privileged class have every right to want to bring the topic to the forefront and resolve it. And if it can't be resolved, then we have to part ways. And I've had to do that too. But It happens in Flat Earth as well. But I think what I'm seeing when I'm mostly just watching Hangouts is people just want someplace decent to go to a chat. And the 24-hour, 24/7 channels can provide that, but you get too many trolls. I mean, who can sit there and monitor a channel 24/7? Yeah, consider the source. Back to the drama thing. That's the thing. You have to, as I used to tell my small group of friends, to trust the person you know, because even the best friends can be suspicious of each other because there's so much paranoia, so many people running around. So they've taken the ball of exposing lies to absurd extremes where everybody's suspicious of everybody. And in the end, you just have to stop and go, look, has this person ever done anything bad to anybody that you know of? Have you seen them? Have they made hit pieces? Have they sowed discord? Have they just been talking? Is that okay? I mean, talking is okay, but why, ask yourself whether a person is actually actively doing harm to a community or a person. And if you know a person, and you shouldn't trust people you don't know. You have to spend a lot of time with people, especially in private conversations, if you're going to get to know them. And then once you know a person, trust them, because even if situations or somebody else, another friend comes and says, I'm suspicious of that person, you go, look, there has to be evidence. There has to be more than he said, she said. So, yeah, the trolls will target any channel that's doing well one way or another, whether it's marketing well, money well, excellent content that threatens somebody. Yeah, look for the people who are causing division or teaching that there should be division. Now, when I say walk away and we have to part ways, that's just the only way to make peace sometimes. But what I mean by division is when people say that by decree, people must be divided, or by decree that anyone that smells like a shill or a troll or an agent should be publicly shamed at every opportunity. That's just a waste of a life, I think. Yeah, so my channel won't be a channel for everybody, just for Christians mostly. And tomorrow, what I'm going to talk about, I think, at least to get it started, is that we need to know why the integrity of the Bible is important. Because when it comes to like flat earth and things, that some channels make it a big deal that flat earth and the gospel will go together, that if you reject flat earth, then you have a serious problem with the gospel. But the problem isn't with the gospel. The problem is whether a person trusts the Bible. I talked about trusting people, but you got to trust the Bible too. I mean, God is the most trustworthy being in existence. So you either know what the Bible is, where it came from, and what doesn't belong in it, or you don't. And then taking what Bible as is accepted, having a consistent method of interpreting it. But I don't want to get too into that today. I want to do that tomorrow. But it is a valid question. Where do we draw the line on what other ideas impact the Bible, and why do they impact it? So I'm not doing a whole lot right now. If anybody wants to jump in panel to chit chat, let me know. But I know there's only, 10 people watching, but I'll stick around if you want. I just don't have a lot that I want to say today that I wouldn't rather say tomorrow. Now we're you mean profitize? They're going for profit and marketing? Yeah, what I think about that. People can make money, nothing wrong with that. I mean, if somebody made a nifty flat earth device, there's nothing wrong with selling it. What I don't like is when it's suddenly overhyped by one or a small group of people who stand to gain personally by it a lot, as far as how we present the community. I mean, any community. It's just like with Christianity. There are people who make a lot of money on selling things, jewelry, materials. Now, selling Bibles, if you have a printed copy of the Bible, it is enormously expensive to make a nice quality one. And people have to be paid for materials and expertise in putting that together. The content of the Bible should be absolutely free. As far as, electronically, you should never have to pay for a Bible because it's the Word of God, not the Word of them. Yeah, you put a lot of work into translation, I know that, but it's still something you do because you want the truth out, not something you do to make a living. Yeah, a little bit of mild venting going on, but that's okay. But yeah, there is what defining drama is mostly personal. He said, she said. Drama is not mere disagreement. Drama is it's always personal. That's what drama. I think that's pretty much the definition of personal spats. This, by the way, is pretty good tea. It's a supposedly organic. It's a black tea, but it's organic from 2 different places in India. Tastes pretty good too. I like it better than Lipton. So, again, if anybody wants to jump in, I'm not sure how long I'll keep this going. I know there's the 24/7 channels running. I don't know who else is right now because I haven't checked in a while. But mostly just wanted to make sure this was running. And let me know if there's any problem with the audio, because sometimes I'm told that there's, the cutouts on the audio, or I have to change the settings. Let me check something on that. Just, I don't know if I can check it here or not. Which browser am I in? Let's see. Testing, edit. Where is that? Advanced settings, I think it is. Yeah, I've got DVR is off. Oh, I don't know why. I thought I checked optimize for less viewer buffering. Interaction isn't a big deal. I usually don't have too many people on channel, but buffering is an issue. So I'm going to just change that and leave my, what is that called? Bandwidth on, I think it's medium. Oh, this is actually low. It's right in the middle of the bar and it says low. Oh well, picture doesn't have to be that high quality anyway. So we'll do that. We'll leave it there. Okay, thanks. Yeah, the other day, last time I did a Hangout, people were saying I needed to change the settings because it was breaking up or stopping or something. All right. So those are good enough settings. We'll leave the bandwidth in the middle and optimize for less buffering. Okay. If I can just remember that then. So anything you guys want to talk about other than tomorrow's topic, which is not a hard and fast topic, but I do want to talk about why the Bible is important and when an issue becomes conflicts with the Bible. I don't know. I could try and play. I took a little video the other day of Jupiter, which it's really hard to get my telescope to line up, even though I what I have to do is I have to point it. I have to make sure it's absolutely level. The broadcast tomorrow is at 7 p.m. Eastern. Right now it is 9:45 a.m. Eastern. Anyway, I'm going to do that every Tuesday at 7. So my telescope, I have to, in order for it to track something in the sky, I have to level it absolutely and then point it north. But even no matter how careful I was using physical bubble level and an independent compass rather than my phone or something, it's still, I had to adjust its orientation once it got near one of the lineup stars it looks for. I don't know why that is. It's like north as I measure it isn't north where the scope thinks it should be, where the planet should be or star should be from north. So I don't know what's up with that. But even with my best magnification of eyepiece, what I do, I have a 3.5-inch scope. I don't know if you can see it back there. I could probably, if I don't knock everything off my desk, I'm trying to see that. It is a Meade. It's a 3.5-inch diameter lens, and we put eyepieces up here that brackets for my phone. And the most magnification I can get out of it, oh, I don't know why, I just have the 2x. I have a 2x converter and a 9mm eyepiece. It's a tiny pinprick hole of light for the 9mm. And it's extremely hard. I mean, even when the thing is tracking accurately, it keeps jumping. So I'm going to look for that video and show you. Meanwhile, did I ever look into the Gold Shield Alliance papal decree? I haven't heard of that, honestly. Couldn't tell you what that is. I'd have to Google it like everybody else right now. But I'm going to try to screen share. I should do that too. I think the video I want to share is that one. Play a second. That's the moon. That's not the one I want. Which one? I think it might be this one. Yeah. So let me screen share. Application window, media player, present, and hopefully you can see that little white circle. Let me wait a second for the delay and make sure that that's going to come up. Okay, not very big, but what are you going to do? Push play. That's what we're going to do. That was me trying to get Jupiter on through my telescope using my cell phone. It has a 4x digital zoom, but it has like 13 megapixels or something. My camcorder has 1 megapixel. So even though it has a 25x optical zoom, it doesn't do you much good. You can see one of the so-called moons of Jupiter. I'm not sure they're moons at all. Just because they go around, supposedly go around Jupiter, doesn't make them a moon-like object. I don't know what they are because they twinkle. Jupiter's not twinkling, but the little dots around it are. So you tell me what those things are going around Jupiter. But you can almost, at least on my computer, probably not by the time it gets to you guys, see some stripes. Now, without my phone, just looking straight through the eyepiece, I could clearly see stripes on Jupiter. And the moons, so-called, are extremely bright and twinkling, which is to say flashing like stars do, but the planets, the wanderers, don't do that. So, and you can see every time my scope tracks at this magnification, it does a tiny little movement. And every time it moves, it wobbles the whole scope I mean, you can't see the wobbling. It's just so magnified that it shows up that way. And there I am digital zooming with my camera or with the phone. And then it gets out of the center of the scope, and I'm just constantly adjusting this thing, trying to track. And Jupiter is supposedly, I have to say, probably looks about the same size as any other of the so-called planets. I mean, I don't have to say so-called planets, because planet means wanderer, and that's what they do. They move through the sky. So, I don't know. I'm guessing you probably can't see the stripes there. I can barely see them on my computer, but I saw them clearly. They're kind of going at an angle down to the left a little bit, up to the right. But they were so clear on the scope, but still very tiny. You can see the field of view. I can't zoom in any tighter on Jupiter than that. It's, it's just the limits of the equipment. So what do you say? A GoFundMe, pray to whatever that other thing is. Get me a P900. I heard they come out with a P950 now, so hey, those other ones should be like free now, right? That's what I think. Anyway, I guess I could show other videos I have of the moon. Let me see what else I can queue up here. Yeah, the twinkling objects in the sky, they are a puzzle. Now let's see. Let me look at the video. I should share that. Share that with you guys, and not just me look at it. There we go. There's one of my, I think that's with my camcorder. You can see how blocky it gets. That was the nice yellow moon the other day. Supposedly a strawberry moon, but it looked orange to me, a little more orange than I'm seeing on the screen here. But let me queue up some more videos. That was 362. Let's get some more going here. And there's another zoom in with the camcorder. It's like watching some old lady's old movies, eh? Let's see. Frequency generators, possibly. Yeah, I mean, it is. If it's pulsing, it's a frequency, although there's also colors involved. The problem with saying that the atmosphere causes twinkling is that it only does it to the stars and these moons of Jupiter. It doesn't do it to the moon. It doesn't do to the planets. Why don't those things twinkle? They're all emitting light, whether it's bounced off light or coming from within the thing. They're all emitting light. Light is light. When it goes through our atmosphere, it should all twinkle, or, it doesn't make any sense that only some things would twinkle. But yeah, the atmosphere would cause a wave, not a pulse. And what we see is a pulse. Yeah, the shimmering of the moon, a lot of times, the only shimmering I've ever seen with my cameras or scope is heat waves, which were obvious heat waves. They always go up, and they always are, they make the thing wavy. What Crow 777 has, the moon wave, is not that at all. It's a line, a very defined line that goes across the moon. What I've seen usually goes top to bottom. I haven't watched all his videos, but it goes top to bottom, I think, and so that's not a heat wave. But there's my 1 megapixel camera with the 25x optical zoom, and sometimes I add, optical zoom. Sometimes I add digital zoom on top of that, makes it a 50, but it's so blocky, it doesn't do you much good. But that's an ancient camcorder. It's still a good one for its time. I mean, 1 megapixel was a big deal back then, but now I've got, like I said, like 13 or so in my little phone camera. But the moon is a puzzle. I have a moon video, some experiments I did at home with some racquetballs, showing how light externally applied to a ball in a dark room behaves. And all I can conclude from what I've seen is that the moon, when it's full like this, looks like a flat disk that is self-illuminated. There are no shadows, there are no hot spots. But when it's not full, it looks like a sphere, externally lit, because there are shadows on the surface. And I can't reconcile those two things. I also can't figure out the phases. Supposedly we're going to get an eclipse in August here. Hope we have good weather that night. That's always a gamble. You don't know if you're going to actually get clouds in the way of the eclipse, but hopefully we'll have good weather. Well, there's Jupiter again. Yeah, I wish I could have, see, I don't have a way to track with my camcorder. So I'm just using a tripod I got at a garage sale many years ago. And it doesn't always lock in place. It's almost like a fluid mount when I don't want it to be, where the thing's, you know, just the weight of the camera, and it's not very heavy at all, will cause the thing, if I'm at a certain angle, will cause it to slowly tip. So I'm having all kinds of equipment issues. I don't know what to do about that, but because we're like, you know, we're going to be paying medical debts for the next 7 years, and then there's just nothing extra. But anyway, yeah, that's the way it goes. Let's see, Wendy says, I have a quick geo demonstration on my channel, working out the kinks in the web, cam picking up what I see on my end. Yeah, geodes are cool. My son has one somewhere in his room, but I'm not going to go look for it right now. I was thinking the other day watching, we had a put some wood in the fire pit, and by the time it gets down to the coals, it shimmers like jewels. It really does. That if you just watch the coals burn, it's pretty neat. It's not, charcoal doesn't do that, but just burning wood, you know, roasting whatever on it, and then on the, when it gets to charcoal, or not charcoal, but it's only charcoal if you burn it a certain way. Like it has to be low oxygen for a certain amount of time to make charcoal. But what I meant to say here was coals. We just, when the fire, just an ordinary wood fire, burns down to coals, and it creates, you know, a lot of heat for a long time. I've had some videos of melting aluminum that we made, you know, a thing out of a bucket with concrete and things in it and perlite, and our crucibles kept burning through. But I'm thinking we could just put out an ordinary wood fire. The thing gets so hot, all you need is a good crucible. And we might try to order one that's ceramic. Those last a lot longer. And we did, in spite of everything, a couple of years ago, pour some aluminum ingots out of old soda cans. It has to be something like over 1,000 degrees. The crucible has to get red hot in order to melt aluminum. But anyway, I could do a slideshow with some of my flower pictures that I took. Just because I'm sitting here making sure Hangouts are going to run for me tomorrow. And try to get that a little bit bigger. I usually don't save the coals when we just have a regular fire, but I will use the ashes. Sometimes you can enrich the soil with ashes, or you can kill some weeds with ashes. You put them on top. But supposedly you can save them for later. been a while since I looked into that. But this was this flower here was just one that I got from, we went to a party for my niece who's going to have her first baby in the fall. Right around the time that constellation Virgo is going to, you know, that big alignment you'll have to ask, I think, cathexis about. That seems to match a lot of details in Revelation 12, with the woman clothed with the sun and the 12 stars crown, and the dragon comes to devour her man-child and all that sort of thing from Revelation 12. Anyway, that's when my niece's baby is due. And at the party, we each were given a little vase of a flower to take home, and mine, for whatever reason, sprouted a couple more blossoms, and one was pinkish, whatever color that is. I don't know my colors very well. And anyway, it's surviving in spite of all the weeds you can see around it. I can't keep up with the weeds. Plants make me itch, and I have arthritis, so things get overrun. I just try to keep the dandelions from taking over. There's one of our irises. I always like that one. And they seem, the smell seems to match the color. Although that one seems to smell to me more like a little orange. It's more like the center color, the orange. Smells like oranges to me. And we have light purpley ones out front that smell like bubble gum, my husband says. I don't know. And I would say more of a white grape. And the real dark ones smell like Concord grapes. It's pretty neat how they match the smell and the color. There's the ones out front. Yep, that's our front yard. You can go dox me now. There's one of them. There's along the side of the house, and the ones behind that are, you'll see, I think, in a little bit, are lilies. There's another shot at the front ones. There's one of my favorite shots. I decided that in heaven, if we have our own scent, that I want that one. That's my favorite flower smell. There you can see the lilies and the irises. I caught it just when they were all blooming at once. We used to have different colors of lilies, but only the red ones seem to survive. Also, we have, I think my sister said, chives growing among the irises. I couldn't tell if they were green onions or chives, but she thinks they're chives. Oh, we got tons of dandelions. The only thing I don't like about them is they overtake my flowers. There, you can see the right over there's the yellow one. Lots more people in the chat. Everybody likes flower shows. There's some of the lilies. I can't smell much of those, but then I don't have the best sense of smell. I haven't seen any purple-colored puffballs on top of the chives. It has a very faint onion smell. There's a little tiny bulb at the base. Backyard also, along with the dandelions, we got clover, lots of clover. There's as close as I can get with my cell phone. Those are the cameras I have, my cell phone and the old camcorder 1 megapixel. I happen to think that the close-ups with the cell phone look a little cartoonish to me. They're just not very good at close-ups, at macro. Lilies will be lilies. Did I go through that, or did I just take another one? Oh, there's our rose bush actually did pretty well this year. My fingers, I don't know, but maybe it just looks, it doesn't give it justice for what it looks like in person. That the camera just doesn't do well with that. For some reason, I don't know, I'm getting a delay. Yeah, this thing is starting to lag on me. See, I pressed that. It took it forever to go back. Lagging. Can you guys still hear me? I don't know if you guys can still hear me. I'm going to stop screen sharing. This is just getting too laggy, and I don't know why. All right, can you guys hear me? Okay, yeah, everything froze up when I was doing the slideshow. So I'm not going to screen share anymore right now because, okay, yeah, something froze up when I was trying to do the screen share. That was just too much to ask, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if it's just because it was JPEGs or what happened there. I really don't know. Nathan, I was just testing because I'm having problems. I'm running a Linux OS. I'm running Ubuntu Studio, and it seems there was an update or something to Chromium, and it got extremely slow to the point I couldn't use it. And yet, so I switched back to Firefox, and Firefox won't work with Hangouts. So I'm having to run two browsers when I'm doing a Hangout. So it was going along pretty well until I did that, started sharing those JPEGs, and then it just decided to start freezing up. So that's what I'm testing. I wanted to, make sure that I'd be able to do my weekly Hangout tomorrow. That's all this was mostly about. And then I showed some flower pictures, and I was going to show some more. And I showed some video of Jupiter earlier, which when I close this out, it will render, and then you can watch it later. Yeah, I don't know why it crashed like that, but yeah, and I've tried OBS a little bit. I'm having audio issues with that. For some reason, I either have a lot of white noise or, tweak the settings, and all I could get it pretty good, but it sounds like there's always a bubbling brook behind me. There's the background noise is very, it's not objectionable, but it shouldn't be there. And here again, I don't know what it is about my system that just won't do a lot of audio visual. And I did Ubuntu Studio for that purpose. The hardware on my laptop should be adequate, but something just isn't working right. But this Linux, and you get what you get, but I don't know. At least I can do a simple Hangout. I not going to try much more than that. And screen shares, as long as they're web pages, doesn't seem to be a problem. But too much audio or too much video or JPEGs, and it seemed to lose its mind. So I guess I can't do that. So OBS isn't great, audio isn't great. Used a desk in the end. Not sure what you mean by that, but yeah, I don't know if I want to try any alternatives. There's some channels that don't seem to have any trouble running OBS or whatever they're running and having multiple things on the screen. It's pretty neat, but I think everything is so designed for Windows that the Linux versions there's always going to be an issue of some sort. I don't know what to do about that. Voice meter banana. Okay, I did. The only thing I was able to change with the audio so far was also mixer. It seemed to help some, but it didn't solve it completely. Okay. Yeah, I'll have to try some things, but I don't know how much I'm going to bother because, I'm just not running fancy Hangouts. I mostly talk and show some Bible pages, and that's about it. I really don't do a lot else, and not sure how much else I would do if I had no problems with the sharing software. But it would have been nice to show the JPEGs. I had some more flower pictures, but oh well. No, and mostly I started out just talking just to test this, make sure I knew what I could do tomorrow for my quote-unquote church hangout. Yeah, Cynthia's the beekeeper. I hope that's still going well. She had to move things and had a problem. Yeah, Google does keep changing their mind. They keep changing the features. If they don't do Hangouts forever, I'm not sure what is the best avenue to take beyond that we could do now. Well, somebody should do a Hangout sometime on all those issues, and so the rest of us can maybe know what to try, what to look for. I especially need a Linux group. It'll help work out these issues. We've had bees around our house because I don't put down poison on the yard, although the thistles are very annoying. I have to put on leather gloves and pull each one of them. I tried putting vinegar on them, and it does kill plants. Vinegar will kill plants, but I don't know. To go around the yard and squirt every single thistle in with vinegar is kind of a pain. Yeah, I do what I can with the computer. It's not a bad laptop. It's an Asus. What does that say there? It came with Windows 7, but of course I replaced that. It says NVIDIA Core i7, HDMI, all sorts of things. It's an N56V Asus laptop. And I don't know how much else I can tweak it, but Ubuntu Studio, supposedly, I checked the hardware requirements and it works just fine. It's just every Linux version I've ever tried on any computer I've had either issues with either audio or video. So I don't know, but I would prefer to have a Mac, but I can't afford those anymore. Used to have them years ago, and one of the reasons is I want a Unix-based OS because I run scripts for making my books, and also for I still manage a few websites, and I do daily backups of their databases, and it's so much easier with a script. And I don't know how well that would work on Windows because the scripts also depend on certain software packages being present. I'd have to completely rewrite them, and I'd rather not have to do that, but I just want my computer to work. I want it to do Hangouts, and it's always an adventure with Linux. So, As far as anything else going on in YouTube land, yeah, I've seen some people using Skype or some other video conferencing software and then just broadcasting that through the Hangout to go to YouTube. I don't know. I don't keep up on all the latest developments. And yeah, I tried Mint, Linux Mint. I had that on here before this. I think that was the latest one before Ubuntu Studio. I had a lot of issues with video with Mint. So I don't know. I think it's a combination of hardware, software. It's hard to find hardware. I mean, there are places that will sell you hardware with Linux already installed, but there's updates and things go wrong. I don't know. Let's have a GoFundMe for that too. In addition to the P900, I would like a nifty computer system that'll just work. There we go. And all my medical bills. Need to GoFundMe for that too. Yeah, two of us, actually 3 of us had to go to the ER so far this year. And we owe something like $7 grand without anything else that happened since then. We don't have $7 grand laying around. But anyway, I'm not doing a GoFundMe. It is what it is. They'll get their money someday, maybe. But yeah. Anything anybody want on? Anybody want to talk about anything? I don't really want to screen share anymore. Locks things up. As far as weeds go, like I said, I just don't like the ones that try to overcrowd my flowers. Being mainly dandelions, those are nasty. I mean, as soon as you put something on it, even if it's vinegar, it goes to seed immediately and makes a gazillion more dandelion plants that you'll have to pull later. So it's an endless battle. You got to go out practically every day and pull them, which is hard on my hands. Makes me itch. I am not a plant person, but I like my flowers. And the only things that seem to thrive here are the lilies and dandelions. Dandelions and thistles thrive the best. Lilies and irises second best. So yeah, supposedly if you do it right, there are also, I learned once that there are fake dandelions that aren't good to eat. I wouldn't know which one mine are. Supposedly there's ways you can tell, and supposedly you can eat the greens in a salad, but I'm told they're very bitter, but edible, and you can you can make tea out of it. I've never tried that. I don't think I want to. Weed tea. Yeah, I'll have to visit Wendy's channel on all that. But so I might shut down just because I don't have anything else to talk about today, and I will be running one tomorrow evening on Bible issues. Oh, dandelion coffee? I never heard that. Oh well. I guess if you can brew it one way or another, you can call it either tea or coffee. I don't know if there's a difference how you prepare it. 12 gauge for the dandelions. Or you could stand over them and say, die, 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 but that takes more time. Derek, do you want on panel? Okay. Let me try that. But just for a second, I've been sitting here drinking tea. I'm going to have to take a little break, and then I'll come back and try to get you in. But let me try just briefly. I'll just screen share one picture and hope it doesn't lock things up. Let me go and find that stuff again. Let's see, where do I want to find a picture to share? see if we can do this one. And you can, why did that go to that screen? I have two screens also, and it gets confusing. Well, once I get this shared, and you guys could just talk among yourselves. I will be back shortly. Okay, back. Sorry about that. That, of course, is what I call a Kembo. Saw that in the sky the other day. The sun was, just certain conditions. If the clouds are at the right height, I see that all the time. So let me go and try to find where to add Derek. All right, I have to go to my Hangouts thing in this browser. And I should name my Hangout here so it doesn't say empty Hangout. So you know which one you're in. I'll call it testing. I will add, I found that if I try to add from the panel, it doesn't work too well. But if I add from the Hangout little private chat box, it seems to work better. Let me put that there. So Derek, I put your email in there. It just says unknown, but it has your email in it. So I will try that. If that isn't you, tell me right away, and I will quickly remove them. Oh, you sent a message on Hangouts? I didn't get it, but let me try that. Let me also look on Hangouts. You have to go to invites, contacts, I don't know. Oh, there you go. Accept. There you are. You should have gotten an invite by now, Derek, also. Yeah, I finally saw the one that you did. And hopefully you got, check your stuff to make sure that you got into this Hangout. I got too many windows open. Yeah, shirtless. I've tried that before. It just seems like from the panel, when I try to add somebody, it'll say it added them, and then they're not there. And then you try to add them in the little box in Hangouts, and it won't let you add it if you do it that way. I don't know. That's just been a problem I've had with it. That's a Kembo, Elaine. That's just a picture I took that I put up while I was gone from the computer for a second, so I'm going to stop sharing that. Try to reduce bandwidth lockup things. And I got another window I need to move around here so I can see what's going on. So hopefully, Derek, you got the link to get in here. If you didn't, let me know. Or if you did, just show up. Yeah, the thing about real rainbows after a storm or something, like a double rainbow, you'll find the colors are in inverted order between the inner and outer bow. But this was a Kembo on a bright sunny day. It was, partly cloudy. I call them Kembos because the colors are different and they more resemble something you would see reflected in a pool of oil on the ground. So, Derek, did you get the invite to the call? Let me know if you got it or not. Speak to me, Derek. Yeah, that's the email I put in. I can try and share another picture maybe while we're waiting for Derek. Because as far as I know, he is added to the call. It's being a Yahoo address, it doesn't show much other information, but it's a blue man icon. So I might remove that one. I'm going to go ahead and remove that one. Okay. Because that probably, even though it was the same email, it didn't know who you were. But things are being very laggy right now, and I'm having to be careful. So let me give you the link through the message you sent me. And you should be able to click on that, although things are very laggy and it's got me concerned this might crash. Yeah, I just did that, Derek. It seems to happen more with non-Gmail addresses for some reason. It doesn't want to find them. Doesn't know who they are. So did you get the link there in the message box yet, Derek? Oh, well, we'll just wait. Evidently, I don't know what kind of device he's on or anything like that. So I'm going to try to reduce the size of some windows. Maybe it'll help with lagging. I don't know. My system just isn't happy with Hangouts right now. Oh, see you, Wendy. Sorry you had to go. This isn't real exciting anyway. It was just a test, but don't know why you can't get Derek in here. Hey, Kathy. So I don't even know if I guess I can keep the video up. I don't know. Eventually I might delete it because it's really boring. But it's a chat right now. If there's no other ones you want to go to. I don't know why it would tell you that, Derek. Let me try to add you through here. Lagging really bad, though. not the right thing I want to put in there. Oh. Go back and get your email again. Where was that? There it is. When I type your address, Derek, into the panel invite, it comes up with two of them. One has the blue man and one has just a mail icon, mailbox letter icon. Let's try that one. Okay, hopefully you got an invite that way. I don't know why that other link didn't work. It should have worked. I'll tell you one other thing I can try. I don't know. Have you gotten any more indication, any more, oh, hold on. I don't know what to tell you, Eric. I don't know why it's not working. I've invited people to Hangouts before. Does anybody else want to try to get in just to see if that part of this is functioning? Anybody with a Gmail address? Let me try one other thing. Joining by link. This thing is so laggy right now. Oh, I forgot that I said joining by link, but it didn't. It went away before I could copy the link. Try that link again, Derek. All right, let me try a couple other people. Hopefully this won't crash, but it's just so laggy right now. I don't know what to see. I'm having laggy issues no matter what I do. All right. Wow. It might be able, it may work now. I don't know why.
Well,
there you are. You there?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay.
That was funky. Excuse me.
This is strange. It's just not.
Like, I would click on it in that message box, and it would just send me to an empty Hangout room that was off air. I went to a different browser and then input the link there, and then it manually brought up the Hangouts again, and all of a sudden it worked.
I don't know.
Or automatically.
I don't know. It was weird too. I was about to add, I turned on join by link, and then suddenly your name appeared in the list of people to add. I'm like, what? And there was your icon. I said, okay. I don't get this at all.
Well, see, I've been having problems with Hangouts here and there. I mean, with some other Christians, and yeah, they would send me links, and they would just do the off-air thing, and we would have to go back and forth.
Wow.
I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm using two different browsers too, so. And so many people have the same email. I'm going to try to remove the one with the blue man icon. I hope it doesn't kick you out, but if it does, try to rejoin.
Sure.
It's taking forever. I click. Okay, it says you're still there.
Okay.
All right, now let me try to add another person. See if they show up. Oh, come on, paste. This is ridiculous. Okay. But this is a problem I've been having with Chromium, and I have to run it for Hangouts. I don't know what the deal is with Chromium these days, but that's my only way to do Hangouts right now.
Yeah, I mean, because I've been a Firefox, user for years, and it just seems like Google has a bone to pick with them. And
yeah, I'm sure it has to do with making everybody use Google products, but Firefox, they say, at least Google says, when I try to run a Hangout, it comes up with an error page, and it says that Firefox no longer supports plugins, and it has to have a plugin to do Hangouts. So they're kind of in an impasse there. Chromium, Elaine, is the Linux version of Chrome. They just call it Chromium. I don't know why. So, what's up, Derek?
Not much. It hailed here yesterday morning, where I'm at in Minnesota, and it was quite a storm.
Wow.
Yeah, like it looked like it had snowed outside, but it was all hailstones.
Huh. Were they very big, or?
Well, not too big, just probably like, salt pellet size.
Oh, okay. That's usually what the biggest we've seen around here. I haven't seen much. Yeah, well, maybe, I guess the salt pellets is a good comparison.
And, some friends of mine had some pictures on Facebook of, the different temperature clouds running in together, and just, they look cool. Oh, man.
Wow. I'd show pictures, but I'm afraid I'd crash again.
And so, no, yeah, it had actually reminded me of a little bit of scripture from, I can't quote it at the moment, but it was like in Job 38, 22 through 23. And just, basically what it brought to my mind is, how God has like a storehouse of like, snow and hail against like the time of trouble and war.
Right.
And it just spiritually, it just comforted me, even though I was in the midst of a storm.
Yeah, they're not fun. When that happens, no matter what you're doing, if you got your headphones on, you're like, what is that noise?
Oh, yeah. Yep,
So,
it woke up the whole house here.
How bad? Yeah, especially if they happen at night. That's really scary because you can't see what's going on.
And my neighbors, I'm not sure if they're of like Hmong origin or whatever, but anyway, the head of the household over there was talking to my mom, and he was like, yeah, apparently he had a good time messing around with his family, because while it was hailing, like, he ran into his daughter's rooms and woke everybody up like, there's a tornado, and freaked everybody out.
Oh, wow. That's the worst thing about tornadoes, is compared to any other storm, even hurricanes, is that they can come in the middle of the night when you're dead asleep. You don't get, I don't care if you got warnings on your phone or anything. Especially in the houses and neighborhood I live in, nobody has basements. It's all cement slabs. And our houses are so small, they say you get in the bathtub, but our bathtub's right next to the furnace, the gas furnace. And I think being near the gas line is probably the worst thing to do in a tornado.
Yeah, that's some limited choices there.
Yeah, it's like, well, go to a corner away from the gas line and try to hide under something big and heavy and hope that works. But, I've heard stories of people in their basements that the top of the house was ripped away and they were just pulled right out of the basement. So even then, you need something over you that's concrete or reinforced steel or something, something that can't be ripped out of the ground.
Yeah, like a pipe that goes like, 20 some odd feet into the ground or something like that.
Yeah, if you could strap yourself to a pipe under the house, you'd probably at least not fly away. JM Truth, I did try to add you. It says you're on the list. Let me check it again if it will actually do something when I click on it. It says you're there. And it matches your icon. So look in your notifications, go to hangouts.google.com and look in your invites maybe. Anyway, so that's all I can do. I mean, as far as I can add you, you've been added. So, Derek, yeah, we're hoping everybody can come to the Tuesday Hangouts, and we'll just do church.
Oh yeah, I look forward to that because actually yesterday I forgot to look at the date. I was just looking at the time, so I was like sitting there waiting.
Right. Sorry about that.
From like 5:30 and onward, and then then I looked at the date. I'm like, oh crap.
Yeah, I put it like 2 days in advance because I thought, well, we'll give people plenty of time. I didn't think about how confusing that would be.
Oh, it was no sweat off my back. I mean, I wasn't really doing anything anyway.
Okay. Yeah.
I just felt like a duh moment, you know.
Oh, I've done that too. Oh, Derek's volume is low. Okay, let me see what I can do. But flat out scared, it was JM Truth that I invited. Let me see if I can find you. Add people. It takes 10 minutes for between. You click on something and something actually happens. Let's see. Come on, show up letters I typed. Out. Space. I'm telling you, this is how slow Chromium is right now. All right, there's your icon. Click. 5 seconds, 10 seconds later, it'll actually acknowledge. This is so frustrating. Yeah, I guess I would need to go to. I always tell people I don't do Windows, but this is ridiculous. Oh well. Yeah, regarding the Tuesday Hangouts, I'm calling it church because that's what it is. As far as anybody could tell me in the New Testament, 2 or 3 gathered because they're Christians. There you go.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah, I don't understand. There was one person who specified a church as meeting in a 501c3 building with a, a pastor. Yeah, well, I wasn't going to name him, but the story has gone back and forth and changed and morphed several times every time it's told as to what he meant by that. It's changed 3 or 4 times. Yeah, I don't know what he really
looked too much into it. It's just, where there's fellowship in spirit, that's church for me. So. Yeah,
and I just can't get past the issue of who it is, what their physical qualities are, why there's any such thing as an official church hangout, or a church, not a hangout necessarily, but an official church. I don't see that in the New Testament.
Well, right. And it's like, what am I thinking of? Where, we can't tell where the wind bloweth.
Right.
So, to try to make something too official might not even be the greatest thing.
I actually think it isn't. And I can't say 1,000% that this is true, but I believe that's just what Jesus said he hates when he wrote the letters to the churches in Revelation. And he said that he hated the deeds of the Nicolaitans. And some of my documents, I talk about, what various people think these Nicolaitans were. And I think it is that these were the hierarchical people, the ones teaching that there was a clergy class and various layers of that. So I think Jesus has a problem with that model. He'll work through it like he does with everything else, and he'll compromise with people, but it certainly wasn't what he wanted to have happen, I don't think.
Yeah, I find, even though like amongst like clergy type churches, you can find believers here and there, but there, to me, it seems a lot of the time there is a stifling of the spirit.
Yeah,
it gets dry.
Yeah, it'll depend on the leadership, quote unquote, there, but they still have the issue of leadership at all and pastor burnout and things like this. And this is my pastor and so-and-so's pastor did that, and I'm studying to be a pastor. When I look at the New Testament, I don't see anyone training to be a pastor. It's a gift. And you're supposedly, from what I read in the New Testament, you can seek out this gift. Whoever wants to be a guardian desires a good thing. But it has to be, the person has to already exhibit all the qualities of a guardian, all the qualities of someone who can rightly divide the word, who guards against error. That's what a guard does. It's not like they're the bosses, because I always say, if you have a city with walls around it and you put guards at the walls, they're not in charge of things. They're just guarding the walls. Mm-hmm. Guardians do.
Yeah.
You don't put the kings and the magistrates on the walls.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's a good idea, though. I think they should be on the front lines.
I view myself a little bit like that, actually. Like, I'm not in charge of, like the fortress, so to speak, but I mean, I may hang around near the door.
Right. Yeah, that's also upside down, the whole idea of what church is supposed to be. And it doesn't matter whether it's in an official sanctioned building in a sanctuary with an altar and a cross and all that, and an order of worship. It doesn't matter where you are, if you're online. Jesus didn't say anything about one of the two who meet being clergy, and he didn't say that has to be in a certain place. That's tradition. That's all tradition. So,
mm-hmm.
So hopefully we're to be joined by.
And yeah, I can't see the chat, because I'm on my phone for Hangouts, and I would have Hangouts to go back to the chat. So.
We have been joined by JM Truth TV. How are you?
Good morning, JM.
Speak to us. Let me check.
Good. How are you?
All right. How's it going?
Hey. Good to see you all this morning.
Yeah, we're just. I mostly wanted to make sure I can run the Hangout I'm supposed to run tomorrow. So far, so good. You sound really muffled.
Yeah, how's that? Is that better?
A little bit.
All right.
I have bad hearing, so.
I've been I've got my headset on, and my better microphone is my broadcasting microphone, and all right. How's that?
It's okay. It's okay. If I ask you to repeat, though, but I'm hearing an echo now.
All right, hold on. All right, so how's that?
Oh, much better.
Yeah, that'll work.
All right, I just had to readjust the settings on my Hangouts to go to my microphone and all that stuff. So
yeah, that helps. Yeah, I have high frequency hearing loss, and so if I tell you you're muffled and nobody else tells you that, that's why.
Right. So what are we? What are we chatting about today?
Well, it seems like we're just kind of shooting from the hip.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I think these Hangouts are awesome. I think we got to do more of them. It's hard to get to know people from behind a computer screen.
Right. I was just saying that when I first started up, we were talking about drama and how you have to trust people. No matter what you hear about a person, you have to trust them once you know them, but you got to know them first. And that takes a lot of private conversations, I think.
Yeah, and I'm a big proponent of also, trying to help people. We all need to understand we're all at different places in our learning and our waking up. And some of us have been at this for a long time, and some people are just waking up yesterday.
Right.
So if we can all understand that, then I know for example, there's a lot of things that I share that are not popular with people, and I know that's going to be the case. But I try telling people, look, I love you, and I'm only sharing what I believe to be true based on what I believe the Father has shared with me. But we need to learn to accept each other and where we're at. Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, sure.
Because we can get so caught up in our dogmatic understandings or thinking that we have all the truth when most of us have been removed for, well, hundreds, if not thousands of years from truth.
Right. The issue that becomes a problem, at least among, just talking about Christians now, is that there are some things that, like I did a video called Dependencies, right, where if, it's like a tree branching out. You have the main trunk, which would be, that Jesus rose from the dead. That defines the faith. And if you don't have that, then it isn't Christianity, really. And then it branches off, there'd be 2 or 3 main branches that come off from the main trunk. And if you're on a different main branch than somebody else, no matter what the secondary issues are on the farthest little twigs, you're going to be wasting your time trying to talk because you're on a different basis. And that's what like how you approach the Bible. Right. It's just if you can recognize the roots of somebody's beliefs, like, do you believe the Bible is all allegory? Well, if you do, then you're not going to ever see eye to eye with someone who believes it's the literal historical grammatical method like I do. So I think it's important to recognize the earliest, most basic foundations of a person's approach to the Bible before you even talk about anything else, because otherwise, you can save yourself a lot of trouble if you do that first,
Right.
And I remember some years back where, like reading things in like Genesis or Job or, just in relationship to the earth. And I would always have to allegor or turn it into metaphors to try to make sense for it in my mind as far as like the ball earth. Mm-hmm. But now it's just a relief not to have to do that anymore.
Well, that's also shows a pattern of how the Bible always, in the end, turns out to be a book you can take rationally and mm-hmm. not try to mystify it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. It's pretty cut and clear to me now. I mean,
well, I think too, one of the other issues is language, and we've been, I believe, we've been deceived in many different ways based on language. It wasn't until the Father said, Josh, you need to go back and learn Hebrew, at least the basics of Hebrew, and read the Old Testament in Hebrew, before I could even grasp the concept that, whoa, God actually told us the earth is flat, and it's science that's lied to us. Like, for thousands of years, the heliocentric model has always been there. Wait, is that right? No, the geocentric model has always been
right
foundation, and then all of a sudden they made fun of the geocentrics to create the heliocentric model. But in Job, it talks about the flat Earth, and you really miss a lot of that. In fact, Job, Isaiah, Jeremiah, like, it's all over the place. When you understand the differences between the Hebrew word chug versus the word dur. That's just one example. Even in Job, he says, I made a plumb line. I set the foundations. Anyone who understands about construction understands the foundation has got to be flat and stable.
Right. Let me just interrupt for a second. We have been joined by Flat Out Scared. I think you're muted.
Yeah, I wasn't making noise. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, you were breaking up at first. It sounds okay now, though.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, just a little bit robotic, kind of. Robotic? I'm not sure what.
Is it any better now, or too loud, or too quiet?
I don't know what's going on.
It's cutting in and out.
Yeah, it's like it's pulsing, like it's on off kind of a thing.
Let me go out and come back, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of times that fixes it. I don't know why, but
yeah.
So I think JM Truth, my main issue when I went to your channel, I don't know how many days ago that was I think it was because I talked so many people, I don't remember who said what, was about whether the New Testament was originally written in Greek or not. Was that it?
Yeah, I mentioned that it was probably written in Hebrew.
Okay, and I disagree about that. But anyway, I think, let's see, we got flat out scared back again. Can you talk some more?
Yeah, am I still a robot or?
You sound much better.
Oh, good. Yeah, I don't want to be a robot.
Oh man, it came back again. I don't know what's going on.
Oh boy. You know what? Let me turn. I have 2 browsers on. I don't know if that could be causing trouble.
I don't know. I turned off my camera. I'm going to.
That's what I did. Yeah, I got my moon thing. I was listening to you talk a while back about. I think you said you had a 200 millimeter lens and maybe a teleconverter.
Well, I have it's a Meade. It's a 3.5 inch diameter. I don't know what the millimeters are, but a 3.5 inch diameter, and I have a 9 millimeter eyepiece and a 2x converter on the eyepiece.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just using old Manola lenses, and it was my dad's old camera. I put on a mirrorless camera, and I got that picture. But then when I went out and it's a little more cloudy, it didn't look like the middle of that, but I couldn't get where near the pictures I did on that one day. It was real clear. It was setting kind of low. It wasn't real high. I don't know. So I got one good picture.
Oh man, you're breaking up really bad now.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna try rebooting. Okay. Thanks.
Sorry, I don't know what's the problem with the audio. I couldn't tell what you said.
Okay. I'll try again.
All right.
So what's I'm just curious what everyone's opinion is of the recent I guess all the recent drama in Flat Earth. I'm not big on drama, and I guess FEA and ISP and Matt Broylan and all of them are doctoring for, I don't know. It's just craziness to me.
It is, and all I can do is stay out of it because there's no way we're going to figure out who's really what about what. All I know is
there's too much smoke there, you know.
Yeah, all I know is that at least in IPS's case, that he came out of the blocks with so many red flags flying, just as a conspiracy theorist, not just for his obvious anti-Bible bias. The guy has openly said he's a Satanist, you know, that he does incantations, I guess, and claims to have been a 32nd or so degree Mason, and that was a red flag by itself, you know.
Right.
And, you know, if you know anything about the Masons, you don't just walk away from something like that. And especially at his age, to be that high up, that doesn't add up to me. And if he did get that far that fast, that young of an age, then he's got some kind of bloodline thing going on that makes me even more distrusting of him.
Well, yeah, see, for me, I have red flags with the whole honest. I mean, I've red flags with a lot of people, but specifically ISP, I don't know. I don't trust him. There's just, it's that intuition, I guess, or discernment, whatever. I can't, I look at him and I'm like, no.
Right. And he's used a bunch of other people's names when he's in public, you know, Matt Boylan and Mark Sargent, and never uses his real name.
Well, then he's also a liar then.
Yeah, he'll say it's marketing or you know, spreading the names around, but that's actually fraud.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just another form of lying.
Right.
Yeah. So
I spent years in the film industry, and that to me is hugely, like I heard, I guess, him say Matt Broylan, or no, I heard that he said his name is Matt Powerland. And I was like, dude, I've got a big issue with lying in any way, but to impersonate somebody else, you've lost all trust with me.
yeah, it's one thing, I think, to have a stage name and another to use somebody else's name.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I see
Right.
different.
Well, yeah, I had a nickname Deus because in Latin the word is Deus means belonging to God, and so I used the name Deus in the film industry when I was directing because it was my way of giving glory to the creator without being blatantly out there
Right.
in that industry. But it was kind of like my touche name, I guess. And now I use Joshua Michael. My actual full name is Joshua Michael Gennari, but I still go by Joshua Michael. Why? Because my surname is irrelevant.
Right, and you're not pretending to be somebody you're not. Somebody,
Right.
some real person.
Right.
And another red flag is that he comes out of nowhere, not just coming out of nowhere, but suddenly he has hundreds of viewers. Yeah, hundreds of viewers, thousands of subscribers. Nobody ever heard of him before. And he's being promoted on all the big popular channels. I mean, getting multiple interviews, promoted all over the place. He's starting memes. He's got trolls doing chat raids like this isn't a gaming community. And
Right.
So just multiple red flags on the guy. And that's, like I said, not even touching his religious antagonism and dividing the community that way. But
Right. Well, I even talked to him on the phone one day just to kind of get a vibe feel for him. And like I said, he's all over the map and trying to steer people in other directions. So
right.
that's all I got to say about that. But for me, at least, the flat earth community, I want to jump out and just slap people because I'm like, look, even Math Powerland, as much as I don't know the guy, but everybody wants to say that they were the first. I'm the one that did. Dude,
yeah.
The Father wrote it in Scripture before all of you, so all y'all can look it up.
Yeah, that whole, it was my idea thing. I don't care. There's a lot of things nobody knows who invented them, but it's like, what, do you want brownie points for this or something? It's just,
Right.
Oh, right. If you're not giving glory back to God, it's vain.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and I could see there, a lot of them aren't believers or anything, but still, what do you get if you originate an idea that maybe you didn't originate anyway? And that's another thing that bugs me about IPS is that well, it isn't just him. It's others who are pushing ancient religions as if they're new insights and awakenings that nobody ever heard of before. And they never get credit. Yeah. I mean, they get this stuff straight out of Hinduism a lot of times, or Gnosticism or Luciferianism, all sorts of isms that are nothing new, and they pass them off as, this is my great insight. Everybody pat me on the back,
Right.
So,
It's
and
just
then
repackaged.
Yeah, it is, and they're not giving credit. So why do they want credit for their quote unquote original ideas or starting a movement or something? And they don't give credit to where they got their ideas.
Right. Well, yeah, it's actually plagiarism.
Yeah, it is. It's dishonest from the start, and
Right.
And some people will say, well, you got to take the bad with the good, and they are doing some good for, with the billboards or whatnot, getting the name out. And I'm like, then you're arguing that the end justifies the means. I have a problem with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And like, as far as like, helping things towards the truth, you should do the truth too. Be honest,
Right.
Right.
It's clean.
Right. Well, yeah, like I said, that was my whole issue with all this drama that's going on now, and everybody taking sides. And I'm like, look, I don't have time for this drama. The Father brought me into this movement. I have a love for humanity, and I want eventually, hopefully, maybe we can all lay all our weapons down and quit this fighting, because Scripture says that they'll break their swords into plowshares. And so now I'm starting to ask people, so if the Scripture says that we're to do that, why do we think we need to wait till the Father comes back to do that? Why can't we do that now?
Well, and it doesn't do any good to try, like, for example, trying to clear your name. I mean, there's a lot of us who've had people slander us, whether it was YouTube or message boards before that. Right. And one thing I know is from experience, if you try to clear your name, it just makes it worse. I mean, people will just want to play. They don't care about what the truth is. And anybody who knows you is going to ask you what happened, and you give your side of the story to them. But if you
Oops.
Oh,
Now here's so. Oh, is my sound working now by chance?
Your sound's coming in good.
yeah.
But now I think, is Paula still there?
Yeah, she just disappeared. I didn't hear anything at all when she was talking and stopped.
just
You're cutting out, Paula. I'm not hearing anything.
No. I'll jump back out and see if she comes back in.
No, you're fine. I wouldn't do that.
Unless it's getting too full, though. And maybe you're
Actually, Google Hangouts can handle quite a bit of bandwidth.
Yeah, I was just wondering because when I was running the slow computer, I don't know. She was saying she was taking her a while to type things out and stuff. I just wonder. I don't know if it would affect that. Yeah, I don't know.
Of course, I imagine it probably also does have something to do with your computer, because it's all run through the. So if I'm doing a Google Hangout and I've got a strong bandwidth, I can handle a lot of people. If I have a weak computer, I probably can't handle as many.
Yeah, that's what I wonder. You'd think it would just all be going through the internet and shouldn't be hard unless your computer's having to work hard, but I don't know.
No, Paula, we can't hear you. Oh, she bounced out, I think.
Yeah, it took me, I don't know if my sound will hang on now. I actually rebooted my computer. I don't know what
Sounds great.
Yeah, it's a decent sound card and stuff. It's actually pretty good, but sometimes stuff just acts up. Who knows why?
am I back?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, there we go. Yep, that's good.
I don't know what happened. Suddenly nobody could hear me, and I couldn't hear you, and I'm like, I don't know what. It was like a slow motion crash.
It took its time.
Yeah, this is the issue I'm having with Chromium, and right now that's the only way I can do Hangouts.
That's what I'm using too. I can't do it. I haven't figured out whatever you need to make Firefox work. I don't know.
Well, it sounds like you can't do anything about it right now because Firefox is ending support for plugins, and you have to have a plugin to run Hangouts.
Wow.
And so supposedly Google and Firefox are trying to work this out, but I don't know that. I haven't heard Firefox say anything, just Google.
So you mean like download plugins and advertisement plugins, all that stuff?
I guess they just said plugins. I don't know. And that's what everybody liked about Firefox, but I guess it's causing problems. I don't know. Yeah. I just know that Chromium is now extremely slow on my computer.
Yep, that's going to hurt Firefox, I would think.
Yeah. Because Hangouts are going to go on, although, Nathan was here earlier and said that in the chat that he doesn't know if Hangouts are going to continue. So we should get together somebody who has a better system, run a Hangout on what it's looking like the future is technologically and what kind of platforms we should try to move to, because I'm having so many problems with YouTube.
YouTube's always had things where it worked good and then didn't, and they change this and change that, and it takes them a while to get it all organized. And I'm sure with the Hangouts added, it's got to be more complex. But what do you?
I'm also pretty sure that because of Flat Earth and other topics that are being boosted right now, YouTube's not a happy camper.
Unless money though. Well, that's the thing though. I wonder though, how many views do they get for advertising off Hangouts? I'd say probably nothing that I know of anyhow.
I don't know. I have ad blockers all over the place, so I don't know what ads, if any, appear in live Hangouts. Do you?
Right. No, I don't think anything. So that might be their concern. Who knows?
I don't know either. I just think it seems that they want to herd us into certain platforms. Like they don't like Linux because it's open source, and things magically just don't work all the time.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, who knows?
Just isn't tied in with everything else. I kind of like Linux, so there's one that's kind of a platform built on Arch Linux. So I was kind of thinking of trying. I don't know. I'm terrible with trying to figure that stuff out, but I want to try it anyhow.
Yeah, there's also Solaris and a couple other alternatives, but the problem is if you go too far off the plantation, then all the little things you depend on, just sending simple emails and loading financial websites or banking websites or any other business that you have to do, suddenly those don't work anymore. You don't have a supported browser, you know.
Right. Yeah, I have found with some relatively doggy old computers, so I could get Linux stuff and run pretty decent. You know it.
Yeah, it does, but like I said, if you don't use one of the major browsers, a lot of sites won't even let you in.
Yep, I agree.
I tried one the other day when I had just installed, it was like within the last week I installed Ubuntu Studio, and I tried a different browser. I don't think it was Midori. It was a different one. Forget what it was called, but every place I went, it acted like I was on a mobile browser, and there was no option in the settings to make it appear as something else. So that was pretty annoying.
Hey, Paula.
Yeah.
I have to go, so I'm going to take my leave and say thanks for having me on. It was fun. It's fun to actually talk face-to-face, too. That was awesome. So.
Right. I had to turn off my camera to try to help with the crashing, but thanks for coming. We'll see you later.
Yep. Bye, everyone.
Yeah, I as far as my hangout tomorrow, I think I'm just going to, I could probably have one or two other people on, but other than that, it's just being a pain right now. You guys are both muted. So I know Derek said he had to go somewhere. Not sure where Flat Out Scared is right now.
I walked away because I left my coffee unattended.
Oh.
The water was boiling and I forgot to dump it.
Oh, boy.
I have a very antiquated coffee rig made up.
Oh, okay. So yeah. I really don't know you too well. What's your backstory?
Oh, I've been hanging around YouTube for, I don't know, probably like 10 years or so, whatever it's been. And probably known for causing trouble, as I'm sure you know. But Ran and I don't get along the best, that's for sure. But kind of sometimes, sort of. So I don't know. That's long, and yeah, I don't know. Usually, I don't have a problem with fundamentalists. I know that's usually called out. Usually depends on how they act,
Yeah.
I don't really. Yeah, I mean, I know fundamentalists in everyday life. I may not like if like say you go into a church and you have an NIV or Revised Standard or let's say a New King James even, and they're saying you better stop reading that, you're of the devil, that kind of thing. Now that might irritate me or something, or I might look at what would be Pentecostal church on the hill and think they're a little whacked, but I don't know, whatever, I seem to get along with them.
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I was just going to say on YouTube, sometimes it's a little different when it comes to attitude and saying who the true Christians are and that kind of thing. It gets kind of bizarre to me.
Yeah, I think there's a fine line between the fact that we have to define what our faith is in order to say what's a true Christian or not. But there's a fine line between that and basing true Christian on how consistent we believe they are with that fundamental truth, with the Bible and whatnot. And that's where the problem comes. And if people, like I said, I think the undisputable thing in order to call it the Christian faith is that Jesus rose from the dead and that we are only reconciled to God if we put our trust in him and believe that he rose from the dead. So beyond that, I do know it in general, whether it's Christianity or flat earth or anything else, that people have an uncanny knack for going through life believing contradictory things. It's just a human condition.
Yeah, I haven't claimed to be a Christian probably for a year or two, a couple of years, whatever, because I've had, too many questions myself. So I don't really feel that it's right to call yourself a Christian when you can read the Bible and see what qualifications are for a Christian. I mean, that's my way of looking at it.
Yeah, in some cases, it seems like, the word has lost its meaning, like fundamentalist, what does that mean? But when I use it, I mean what the Bible says it is, which the Bible does mention Christians twice, I think. One being where it says the Christians in the book of Acts, it says that the believers were first called Christians at Antioch, and that it just means a follower of Christ, and that's all I claim to be anyway. So what anybody else? Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting, but I've heard plenty of people say that the word Christian doesn't even exist in the Bible. But I'm thinking, I thought it was a matter of translation. I might be wrong.
Well, at the risk of opening another tab, I'll go.
No, don't worry about it. But I think I don't know. I was never offended by the word Christian. Some people are. For some, probably you'll see that with messianics or people who just don't want to be part of modern day Christianity or something.
I understand that. There's actually 3 references I just found quick. One is Acts 11:26, where the one I just mentioned about being called Christians at Antioch. Another is Acts 26:28, where Agrippa says to Paul, "Do you think that in such a short time you can persuade me to be a Christian?" And the other one is 1 Peter 4:16, "If you suffer as a Christian, don't be ashamed." So there's 3 places, and I could probably look at, I'd go look at the Greek and see if it says Christianos or something like that. And I'm pretty sure it does.
Yeah. But it's YouTube is an interesting place anyhow.
Right.
It's
fun. And we all have our personal convictions as to where there's a line we won't cross when it comes to fellowship, because certain things cannot be agree to disagree, in my opinion. The gospel, of course, is a given, but beyond that, it's like I got into it on the women in Christianity issue and did several videos about it, where if you base something on a person's genetic qualities, whether it's their gender or their skin color or whatever it is, it's impossible to fellowship with people who believe that because of those qualities that you have to be restricted. How can you coexist in that scenario? Because at least when you're meeting, with them in whatever scenario they think you're restricted in, then that's not fellowship anymore, because they're saying there's something wrong with you, something that has to keep you separate but equal. You know what I'm saying?
I was watching for a while back when you were coming on the Flat Out Elected, and I would see that you were studying, and that impressed me. And I don't think that always means everyone has to agree, but you see that you were actually trying to understand and actually study and read. And then I saw what happened, and I know that's, I would call it a debatable subject. I think it can get kind of tough, but yeah, it's a shame. Life's not easy always. Right.
And my point about the whole thing is that it's not the disagreement that's the problem. It's whether you can fellowship as Christians with Christians who think you have to be restricted because of your flesh. That's where I have to draw a line at fellowship, because, I can't fellowship with people in certain situations if they are saying, by their decree that you can't do certain things, not because the Bible says so, but because they are convicted that the Bible says so, and your flesh is in the way. I that's my personal conviction, and where I can't, I have to make a stand there, because when you're in a position, it's like with Esther, who knows, but that God put you in that here for such a time as this. once you have a topic like that you're a personal conviction on, that you have a chance to make a stand, I think you have to. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And it's a, I can see verses where people would think one way, and I can see verses where people would think another way, and then you get into the whole thing of trying to get it in context and who they were speaking to and why, and I think it does become difficult. And yet there's always going to be people that just look at what they see in one or two verses and say this is it, So I don't know.
But here again, there was more going on than that. There was statements made that are statements about your essence, the essence of your being, not your opinions. You know what I'm saying? Like if you made it about race, say example, because that seems to be easier for people to understand the injustice of it, is if somebody said, it's like I said, I mentioned in one of my videos about an article I did called Sound Familiar, where if you just look at all the arguments people make on the basis of slavery in early American history, where people would make arguments that the Bible condones slavery and that it is, God's natural order, and that people have to know their place, and that you can have separate but equal facilities. Even though you can make those arguments from the Bible, there's some overarching principle that argues against it, which takes some thinking. It's not something you could just lift off the page. And yet we see the inherent injustice of restricting people on the basis of their skin color. And that's a genetic quality, is something that's a part of who you are, and not just a matter of opinion, because it argues that there's something about you as a human being that is it has to be kept apart. It's the teaching of division on the basis of skin color. And so if you substitute gender for skin color or race, the same principles apply. And so I take that restriction of women just because they're women as the same thing as saying that you would exclude people of color from being in a 501(c)(3) building behind a pulpit leading a church. Then this is inherently unjust, because it's saying that there's something wrong with you as a person, regardless of your character, regardless of your spirit or your gifting or anything like that. I don't know if I'm getting that across, but
no, I get what you're saying. There's I think I can see where you're coming from. I do think there's some differences though in how they're dealt with, because they are dealt with both subjects in the Bible. But I think in slavery, people will grab something in the Old Testament and say, well, this says this or does this. They look maybe a few places in the New Testament and still try to. But in general, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was mainly Christians who fought against slavery.
Yes, it actually was. It was, and a point was made in some of the quotes that I had from history on the slavery issue, is that the problem that was faced is that these were a group of Christians, usually women, by the way, who objected and wanted to impose their moral convictions on the rest of society. And people were against that because it went against American principles of independence and not having things forced on them. And yet here it was, an inherent injustice that transcended people's sense of democracy, because they held that if they believed such and such was okay, a slavery was okay, then it should be okay. And nobody should tell them otherwise. But here were these moralists, these zealots, saying that it was inherently wrong against God to enslave other human beings.
Right.
And it took a while, and this was a minority imposing their moral will on the majority. And the same arguments hold true for discrimination on the basis of gender. And when I say gender, I mean male and female. I don't mean the gender bender crap. Yeah. I just thought I'd better qualify that.
Yeah. Hey, even that though, I remember being it could be if somebody's born a certain way, mixed parts. I don't know. My goodness, it's hard stuff. I thank goodness. I don't know what.
Right. Yeah. All of that gender blending is not what any of us who call ourselves egalitarians are arguing, meaning equal. It means we recognize there's a biological male and a biological female, but that in Christ, this is irrelevant when it comes to spiritual gifting and so-called roles. I hate the word roles because a role is something you can stop. A role is something you play. Like I can be, sometimes I'm in my role as a wife and sometimes as a mother and sometimes as a web designer and, you know, sometimes as a YouTuber. Those are roles, but a woman is what I am. And go ahead.
No, I was just thinking that where some people maybe got caught up in that is, and I think G-Man says something about it, and I could kind of see his point. It's kind of like when, you know, there's something going on or something. My wife doesn't, or I wouldn't say, hey, could you go check? There's some noise outside. You know, dandelions are getting out of control. Go blast them. No, I'm kidding. But my wife will usually send me. I go like, okay. No, actually, I don't do that. I say, all right, you know, because that just seems, no, I suppose there are times in some homes, where the man might not be able to do that for some reason. And the woman would actually get, maybe that's just her attitude, you know, but in general, the reality is if you're going somewhere, you're out and somebody harasses the woman, the guy's going to stand up and he's going to, well, probably give his life, whatever it takes, you know, to stop it, you know?
Well, me personally, and a lot of women I know would do the same for their husbands. I mean, if I heard, I'm the light sleeper. If I hear a noise, if I'm suspicious at all that we've been broken into or anything, I'll try to wake up my husband too, which I emphasis on try. But I mean, it wouldn't bother me to grab a baseball bat or something like that and go at somebody. I would totally do that because I'm protecting my home and my loved ones, including my husband. If I was out somewhere and somebody picked on him for whatever reason, I would come to his defense, even though I'm not any big physical person. I would do whatever I could. I'd grab a weapon or I'd get some help or whatever, you know.
And that's a good thing. And I think that's the way people take care of one another. But
I
think kind of what the guys were getting on is just, you know, that typically, unless, you know, there can be things that are different at times. But in general, I think men are physically going to be stronger. And so that's why they're usually put in that place.
Right.
And so I guess that's kind of where maybe a lot of guys feel intimidated if they feel that place is being taken from them. Like,
I think
I'm the man, you know.
I think that's really hitting the nail on the head is they fear equality. They fear not having an exclusive place just because of being male. I mean, I know women who are 6'2" and could beat most men up. And they're ladies, you know, there's no doubt that they're female. And they don't try to be male. They're just big physical women. And
imagine though, if we're beating on a guy, that would definitely hurt his pride.
Well, and that's the thing. It's just why, you know, I think being a man or being a woman is just, you know, you're born as one or the other. And being an adult or a Christian is what I would prefer the term to be, you know, instead of man up and man this and man that. And we used to use words like backbone for courage, and now we use male anatomy terms for courage and female anatomy terms for bad things in general. I won't name them, but
well, you have to admit, I mean, I'll try not to be rude on this, but when women some women start dressing up like a pink vagina, wearing weird hats and
well, yeah, that's totally stupid.
Now you have to admit the world has gone whacked. I mean, that is unbelievable. I mean, at our home, we still watch TV, and if we see something like that coming up, you know, like a show will be on or a movie or something, and you see something coming into, it's working its way into that kind of thing, it'll be shut off. We don't watch that much TV, but once in a while, watch a movie or a series or something, and you see something like that come on, it's just like, bam, it's done. You know, that.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. I mean, that's
unbelievable.
I don't think anybody should parade their sexuality down Main Street. I don't care who they are. That's not a public topic. I mean,
yeah, right.
You know,
exactly.
And invading people's living rooms, you know, they want us to leave them alone, but they won't leave us alone. They want to have public stage. And so they don't want to be taken into account for it. And yeah, I totally disagree with that. I mean,
I try to be understanding, but I don't want to watch it or listen to it. You know?
Right. And they're using this as a fallacy to use the extreme example as typical. And we get smeared, you know, women who just want to be treated as human adults get smeared with those kind of people. And just as they, the men will complain that men are being portrayed as knuckle dragging apes on TV these days. Well, I don't know because I don't watch. I just have to go by what people tell me. But that's bad too.
Well, sure. My wife always agreed with that, and it bothered me. And no, I'm kidding. But no, actually, my wife complained about that years ago. She said, "Look how they treat men," and they're like, "Yeah," and then you'd see the feminist thing moving in, and that probably is, maybe that's part of what scares people, and part of what makes this issue of, that you see sometimes, with people being afraid that they're going to be usurped or whatever. You know what I mean? Maybe it's because they've seen that in society recently.
It's the pendulum swinging from one extreme to the other, back and forth. And either extreme is wrong, in my opinion. I mean, people should just let each other be people and not try to control other people, and just not try to dress or portray themselves in a way that brings overt attention on them. And I'm not saying to dress in sackcloth. I'm just saying wear clothes that fit your body reasonably without making you sexualized in a way that will deliberately tempt other people. There's a way to look nice without doing that on both sexes. I mean, we can also complain about the men with their pants on the ground as much as, the women with just barely wearing anything. That's just bad on both sides.
I don't know if women are drawn to that or not. I would suspect.
I'm not.
Yeah, I don't think so. It's like unbelievable. I mean, I have a problem. I think I'm getting old. I need suspenders. Why in the world? Yeah, I wouldn't do that on purpose. Come on.
Yeah, when they do that on purpose, I laugh because I like, how can that guy ever run? If he had to run, he would not be able to run.
Well, there's a guy one time across the street that neighbor had these real nice big flower pots, these clay flower pots, and remember this boom, and I looked out, and then he went over and busted the other one, and like a moron, I did chase him, and but yeah, he was like that, and the only thing that was kind of funny though, like some young kids, they don't tie their sneakers, and he actually ran out of his sneakers. He did get away, and there was a point where, yeah, of course he was running faster than me, and I can only go so far, but anyhow, it's kind of funny.
Yeah, and all that just to say that people will always go to one extreme or another and then smear the group, the more rational people in the middle with that. And so when it comes to women's equality, all most of us want is just to be treated like adults. And it wasn't that long ago that a woman, even in the Western world, could not have a bank account in her own name, could not vote, could not buy property, not treated as an adult. And that's all any of us really wanted. Of course, that's being, twisted and distorted like everything else does. And it's the same, like you said, with the men. They get, portrayed as morons, and that's not right either. We should all just treat each other the way we want to be treated. How about that golden rule? I read that somewhere.
Yeah, well, I tell you, I don't know what'll happen with it, but if they, at least in Western society, if we continue having people, I found it particularly strange that a number of feminists would actually be fighting for Islam. And if bad, you just let them see how that works.
That's the most asinine thing I can think of. I mean, I studied it. Yeah, I studied it. I mean, after 9/11, before it really sunk in what had happened, I read the Quran. I bought a Quran and I read it. I borrowed the Hadith and some other history books because you want to know your enemy. So
sure.
I read up on it, and they treat women like garbage.
They can be very nice to their wives, but in general, they have excuse to do it. Let's put it that way.
Right. The difference between the Bible and the Quran in that regard is that to be nice is a violation of what the Quran teaches. To be nice is a obedience to what the Bible teaches. In the Quran and the Hadith and the example of Muhammad and the early founders of Islam is that women are property, women are slaves, pedophilia is rampant, and you can take plunder, including slaves, from people that you conquer. And this is being in obedience to what their official writings say. So the Muslims who are so-called dormant, I call them dormant, just aren't practicing what their book says. Now, I don't go around saying that because I don't like people outside of the Christian faith telling me I'm not obeying the Bible. So I don't do that. But I'm just saying what I observe is that this is the Quran, and by their own examples and by their official teachings, is that women are, it takes 2 women to equal 1 man in a court of law as far as testimony goes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I never studied that topic in the Quran, so I don't know. I feel that on some of the slavery issues, I mean, and I may be wrong on this, but I've had some of the same issues when I look at the Old Testament at times. It's hard for me to understand that, at least as I see it. But when I look at the New Testament, I see a radically different situation, that you cannot live like that and be a Christian and call yourself a Christian and actually be following the New Testament, the teachings of Jesus. Let's say you can't do it. And
right.
The thing is with the Quran, the very different to me is radical difference is that when you read the Quran, not just by surahs as they're laid out from short to long or long, however it is, if you read it chronologically, Muhammad becomes more and more aggressive, and it's radically different. Christianity becomes, in my opinion, more peaceful than starting in the Old Testament and going on. That's how I see it. I just see Islam as opposite of that. It becomes extremely aggressive. But
yeah,
the world doesn't want to see that. At least this very liberal side of things. They want to call it a religion of peace, which I think it can be, but I think it also can be extremely aggressive, and I don't think it's hard for them to justify being aggressive.
Right, and like I said, their own official teachings condemn them as far as, if we're misunderstanding the Quran, fine. But what they tell us it means is the same thing. It says, the women are not to be treated as men, as equal to men, and a man can have 4 wives, a woman cannot have 4 husbands, etc. Right. And then any Islamic controlled country is very oppressive toward women. So
you think about it, like if a Christian feels they're under attack, how are they supposed to respond to that? I mean, attack, I guess it is relative to what kind of attack, I guess. But
yeah,
they think we're under attack. In general, how does a Christian deal with it? And go back to, in our world, like where we live, let's look at guys like in World War I, World War II, Korea and stuff. People, how did they deal with that? I think they were tough guys. I do worry a little bit today. I don't know if we're prepared for that.
Yeah, people in general have become keyboard warriors and don't really know what it means to defend somebody's honor, and that was a big thing too, is just that I've seen online is a lot of disloyalty. People don't think that you should make any big deal if somebody does something unethical, that the end justifies the means, that if you plagiarize somebody, that's okay as long as the truth gets out. And moral relativism has become a really big problem online. But specifically to the Quran, they teach I think it's called taqiyya or something like that, where you're supposed to lie to infidels in order to gain the upper hand.
That's true.
So,
yeah. And I think it's just my personal belief. I think there's a part of Islam that is working its way into the West through Europe and the U.S. I think that's what they're working at. And you can't really nail them down. I was talking with some guys that were saying, well, you can't blame a country. It's not like it's a country's fault. I'm like, well, that's the weird part. So it really does come down to religion, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Hey, Mark. Oh, you're muted.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Can you guys hear me well?
Yeah, sure can. What's up, man?
Good. Oh, Derek's back on. I was going to jump on to getting background noise. Sorry.
Weren't we talking about Islam the other day, Mark?
Yeah, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Yep.
I started talking, I heard a lot of background noise and echo. I don't know if that means somebody wasn't muted or something.
I don't know, but everybody sounds fine.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I just jumped on. I didn't know Derek was back in. I was just trying to get a third person in there.
Okay,
So,
yeah, you're good.
Okay.
Well, I didn't have
Derek,
much to add to or take away from what they were saying, so I didn't have to say much or anything really.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to say hi real quick. I think it's Bruce, right?
Yes.
It's nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Continue on. I'll add if I think I have anything to add.
I should add that after I said all that, it's only fair. I think I do add that I do believe there's peaceful Muslims, and that guy, a neighbor, guy had passed away, and real nice guy. His wife's real nice. Goodness of all my neighbors. If my kids needed help, I'd probably rather them go there than a lot of other places. But yeah, nevertheless, that doesn't change some of what we're seeing. Rough stuff. I think it is.
And one thing I have to say, though, is I've known people who had Muslim neighbors before 9/11 they had known for 20 years, so were very nice people. But after 9/11, suddenly the people would shun them, wouldn't talk to them anymore, started acting superior. It's like, that's why I use the term dormant Muslims, because when push comes to shove, or when people think, Islam is gaining strength, that's when you find out whether they're truly moderate or not.
Right. I would agree. Yes. Yeah, I would agree with you.
So it just seems like, by their teachings and examples that I wouldn't trust any of them until you found them in that kind of a situation. For example, if in a Muslim country where the Christians are being slaughtered and tortured right now, if any Muslims protected them and helped them, those would be people I could trust,
Right. No. I think that's what's odd is, to me, nobody likes being messed with or made fun of or whatever on the internet and stuff. But when we think persecution, you don't have to look real far. I'm not trying to be funny, but kind of flat around whatever it is. You don't have to look real far to see that there's serious persecution going on in this world.
There is. And of course, the church in China for just about ever has been underground. And, sometimes if anybody just suspects you of being a Christian, that you can be taken off to prison camp and never seen again.
You know what's wild about that? How does Christianity do in China?
I think there's more Christians in China than there are in the States.
That's what I've heard.
But it doesn't appear to really hurt it much,
Well, I've actually heard that people who have somehow visited the underground church and come back, they say that those people pray for us and they worry about us because we live in an environment where so many ideas are flying around that are infiltrating Christianity, that we're not tested to that extreme, because persecution filters out the pretenders. And we don't have that here. And so there's a lot of fakes in the churches, and they pray for us because it's so easy to get confused and deceived.
Are they saying what some of those ideas that are floating around there that they think are fake?
I'm sorry, what was that? I didn't hear the first part.
Are those persecuted Christians, the underground Christians in China, are they presenting some of the doctrines or fake beliefs that they believe that we have over here?
I haven't heard that much detail. I've just heard that they pray for us for that reason. That's all.
Gotcha.
So
I think doctrine and beliefs, so they get pretty I don't know, I guess God judges your heart, from my understanding. I don't know, I suppose it would be good to have proper doctrine, but my goodness, I think people kill each other over it if they could.
Well, and I think there's something to be said about just being simplistic, because I've heard of some gatherings of underground Christians in China where they may only have like one page of the Bible or something like that, but they believe in Jesus Christ, that he died, was buried, and was raised again, and they'll just go off of that one page or something, and they'll just keep it at that.
Yeah, last night I kind of tiptoed around the internet to find out what was going on in the world of covenant theology versus dispensationalism. And I got to tell you, I about walked away from the computer screen crying, because it was like I had no idea that there was such a huge battle between kind of like a literalist interpretation of the Bible, like you were talking about earlier, Paula, and an allegorical philosophy. Kind of when we come to that point, that's where we're going to start off, the race at completely different points.
Yeah, it goes back to those dependencies. And if you're talking to, covenant versus dispensation is one of the major branch splits, so that anything you talk about in the Bible, you're never going to come to agreement on, because you're going to keep, other than the gospel, because you're going to keep, one side says that everything applies to the church, both testaments. The other side says, no, there's, different rules for different groups of people in different times. So I don't see how those two groups can coexist when their beliefs are so different. But here again, there's another difference with the, issues of race or gender as opposed to issues of theology. Covenant theologists and dispensationalists are not at each other's throats because of their flesh. They're at each other's throats because of their beliefs. And there are men and women on both sides of that. Whereas with the race and gender genetic qualities issue, if somebody believes that you're restricted on those qualities, then that's a completely in a different level, because it strikes at you as a person. Whereas the other things are just what you believe in your personal convictions, whereas this is something you cannot change about yourself. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, like I told you, I don't know if it was a couple of weeks back, that I had a conversation with some men in private about the hierarchical thing to begin with. And I'm taking my own advice. And like I told you, I'm going through your information. And I'm being torn apart mentally, and it's a tough thing to examine yourself to find out whether you have, faults or errors in your beliefs. And this comes back to where the Spirit of Christ, the love you have, is the unifying factor, because it's beyond your control. If we have love of the Holy Spirit in us, it's beyond our control. We are going to bend a knee, and we're going to search out the truth. Now, that's where the struggle comes in, because everybody says they have the truth. So that's the problem. And so I've had to humble myself in many ways recently. Going through your information, there's a lot of it to go through. And before we talk again about it, it'll probably be several more weeks or even a few months because it's a lot of stuff. It's a lot to go through.
Yeah.
And pray about, mainly.
Yeah. I don't know how many words more I could write or say on the topic that I don't know what else I could do to get the point across. It seems a lot of times people don't understand what I'm getting at when I'm talking about this issue, because like I said, it's not like I can change who I am or what I am. And I say I just because it makes it more personal. I found that people's ideas about certain beliefs change when you put a face on it. You know what I'm saying? That it's all well and good to talk about a group of people dispassionately, but when you see the face of the person, it kind of, it humanizes them more. And I think that's what's lacking in a lot of these theological discussions, is there's a lack of humanity, which is really striking at the core of the gospel, because it's all about who you are and how you get along. And like I said, there are women who believe that they should be subservient to men. There are men who believe that we're both equal. So even then, the genders sometimes, it's like in American slavery, there were slaves who approved of slavery. So go figure. That's all I can say. But the point is that genetic qualities isn't a role. It's not something I can change being. And I don't believe that the Bible teaches God is a respecter of persons, or that he looks on the flesh before he looks on the heart. I think that's a core interpretation of the Bible issue, and not, if that's someone's personal conviction that other people are, if that certain half the body of Christ is different than the other half, then I can't fellowship with those people. I just can't.
I have something to share with you. I think it's kind of interesting. Is that this was years ago. a number of years after I'd been involved in some of the, I actually just went to get involved in actually playing guitar. I ended up with some Christian guys and stuff, and then they were battling and fighting with the atheists back and forth, and it became very aggressive. And I thought, what in the world? I mean, why this amount of hatred, And then I got warned for being an ushy gushy, huggy Christian, that kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, I better toughen up. So I did a bit, but then I felt it was wrong, and so I got out of the group. And then, of course, they all attack, Well, anyhow, that definitely influenced how I felt about things. And this one guy I knew is a Calvinist, which does, you could be Calvinist or Arminian, whatever, Wesleyan, still have the same kind of attitude, But I remember he looked at me and he said, and that's after all this battling and stuff, probably 8 years ago, 7 years ago, whatever it was, on YouTube that I was in. And he says, well, I don't believe you are a Christian. And actually, he only believed his wife and maybe like 5 or 7 other people he knew in his life.
Wow.
Were actually true Christians. But he said that to me, and I remember, I don't know what happened, what he must have seen in me, but he got scared. Like, well, I became angry, I guess. And he said I looked like I was gonna tear him up. And I remember just telling him, I said, well, the only thing that's really saving you is that you're old. I'm not gonna beat up an old person, And I don't really want to beat anybody up, but it's just like, what, And I said, where you don't do this in everyday life, though. I bet you normally, do you? And he's like, I said, I bet you spend a lot of time on the internet, don't you? He said, well, yeah, in chats and stuff. I said, well, this isn't a chat. That's the difference. You can't,
right.
And he said, well, I said, well, you go back years ago, would have you treated people that way? He said, well, if I would have known what I know now, I would, I'm like, yeah, and you would have got your butt kicked. That's and I'm not saying it's an excuse to turn on somebody, but it's just kind of like, I just found it interesting when a guy tried to exercise his keyboard warrior authority in one-on-one, and I was kind of like, wow, this dude, what an idiot, I mean, whatever,
Right. Yeah, the internet makes a lot of people, it brings out the worst in them.
Yeah, it trained him, though, to be that way in everyday life. And I was just like, well, I mean, there's, and yeah, a lot of people respond differently, but to someone who's been battling it on the internet, and you see that kind of internet behavior in your face, you go like, wait a minute, is it a joke or what? I mean, you got to be kidding. Yeah. Strange.
But yeah, that's why I was saying earlier about that. You need to talk to a person alone for quite a while before you really know what they're about. Because your impressions almost always change when you do that.
But even like in Hangouts, so like you'll see things get totally out of control, people screaming and freaking out on each other. But they're also like miles away. I had a neighbor do that one time. I was at his place, he just lived actually across the parking lot from me. And when I left, I accidentally left this chat thing. Or I guess his computer was set up. It came up on the last page it was on, his browser. And so he found his way into that chat room. And I always thought it was funny, it just how people act on the internet versus how they would one-on-one, Everybody notices that. I know that, but it's interesting when you actually observe it, though.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't know. Crazy.
Hey, Bruce, I'd like to ask you. I get this sense about you, and I'm coming at this angle in love. Tell me if I'm wrong. I get this sense that you came here you've been following Paula for a little bit, if I understand that correctly. Is that right?
I thought she was interesting. I thought of all the flat Earth people on that channel, I thought she was more the one that was studying the most and educated and seemed to treat people well. I never saw her lashing out or making fun of people or anything like that. No.
Sure. So here's my point. I think that you've come here to let your hair down. Is that correct? You want to know some things. You want to ask some things. Am I right?
Actually, no. I was just enjoying the company. The flat Earth thing certainly interests me. I don't talk about it because at least here I haven't, because I don't want to cause contention. But
okay. Well, maybe I read you wrong, but I get this impression that you're trying to find what you call true Christianity, and you're trying to find out. You want to probe it and find out more about it. Is that correct or no?
Well, I am certainly open to it. I mean, I'm sort of in a position where I've got Christians asking me to play in their bands, so it kind of has me looking at it more, kind of going, well, wait a minute, how could I
Yeah. So I know this
back
is
into
Paula's
this and
hangout.
kind of try to explain the things I question, so I've been spending actually a lot of time studying that and try to look at differing views and theologically and try to understand biblical history and that kind of thing as best I can with my limited abilities to understand, but yeah, I'm trying.
Yeah, sure, no problem. And maybe I'm jumping ahead of the Holy Spirit here from my point of view, but I just feel like you should definitely let your hair down and ask all your questions because you're doing it in a respectful manner. So
Well,
I feel like you shouldn't hold back at all. If you have a disagreement with anybody in the panel, like ask them why they believe what they believe, kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
right, but one of my things is that at times when I see a lot of debates and that kind of thing, what I find is that oftentimes in live discussions and debates, sometimes it drags people down, and I don't really particularly see anything beneficial in that. When, like for instance, years ago, say that I had a theological question, or I'd run into a Bible difficulty. Well, I would have a number of books I could go look at. Whether it be Josh McDowell's or Gleason Archer or whatever, I could look at these books and I'd find an answer and I'd say, okay, and commentaries and such, what I read laying around. And I'd say, yeah, okay, good. And I'd shut the book. The thing that I found different on the internet is you're now putting these questions out that one person has to many, many people. And if they're not answered well, then all those other people also now have that same question. It's like opening a book on difficult questions and just reading the book. Now you have a billion questions rather than just answering one that you had. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, but I also believe that if people are coming from it from the point of learning and wanting to know the truth, that even people in the side chat they'll be able to understand and discern that it's all because of truth or love. Even you could say that, you could exchange that word if you'd like to.
Got you.
And so therefore there's nothing but freedom in asking these questions out of love. There's nothing but freedom.
But
we don't have to worry about dissension. We don't have to worry about that because if you disagree, I'm not going to beat you over the head with that. I know that much.
No, my problem is that then that would be fine for me, but if it causes someone else to stumble, then I don't see any advantage to that when it could be dealt with in private or through my own studies. I don't want to drag someone else down.
Sure. Yeah, I got you. Like, for example, I sent a private invite to you. I don't know if you ever saw it. That was an example of me reaching out to you so we can have that private conversation. But yeah, you probably didn't know who I was or anything like that. That's fine. But yeah, I mean, if you're on here inquiring because you're interested, you like Paula, I'm only saying, think of it as an interview or questioning somebody with a different belief or a different thought. Don't even think of it as that you have to defend your beliefs. I'm curious about what these people believe because I've seen you in other Hangouts, and I'm not saying I follow you around. I'm just saying I've seen that icon. Yeah, I've seen in other Hangouts where you're wanting to know the truth, but maybe it gets argumentative and it goes back and forth. And I'm saying I don't think that's going to happen here. That's all I'm saying. I mean, this is Paula's Hangout, obviously, but
right.
I just got that sense. I got that sense, and you could say I believe it's from God. But I'm also not trying to cause dissension in Paula's Hangout either. But
right.
I just wanted to give you a sense of like a handshake, a hug, a tap on the back.
Well, thanks.
And say, inquire of somebody who you seem to respect, who is Paula. That's all I'm saying. And then we're kind of here in the Hangout writing that, along with it, if we can interject. But, you guys might have been doing that anyways, and so who am I to interrupt it? But I just felt like saying that go for it, learn and
I guess I have a weird way of doing things, and it probably does put me in a bad place at times. But if I generally, like if people are just discussing theology, talking about the Bible, trying to live a godly life, that kind of thing, who would I be to condemn that? And unless theologically it was something totally whacked out, and I just felt like calling it out because it was just ridiculous, But I don't really, unless somebody's if somebody's using the Bible and Christianity in general as a bludgeoning tool and just beating the crap out of people with it, I don't ask a lot of questions. I don't try to drag, if they're like humiliating people, whether it's someone else or me or whatever, but particularly if it's someone else, I'll often start asking questions and watch them fall all over the place, and so I'm, I guess to put it bluntly, yeah, I'm a prick that way, but not when people are acting Christ-like. Why would I do that?
Yeah, I think the core of the issue is that sometimes people don't understand the difference between standing on your personal convictions, which is all well and good, and taking a stand for what you believe to be right, on one hand, and on the other hand, being aggressive and bludgeoning, like you said, and going around like you're God's bouncer, being aggressive like that. I think if somebody, if somebody said, what are your personal convictions, I would tell them, and I would say, I'm standing, I won't cross this line. I'll give my life if I have to for the gospel and whatever. And that's where I stand. And that's, I'll just state it like that. Whereas if I go around saying, if anybody disagrees with me on, women in Christianity, for example, I'm going to come to your house and, beat your dog. And
well, you also don't come out and say, well, you're an idiot. You're a jerk. You're a moron. I don't hear you saying that kind of thing. At least not that I've ever picked up. I've never heard you do that to people.
No, I really try not to, even though there might be occasions when I think that. I even try not to think that, because your words come out of what you're thinking. As Jesus even said, it's what comes out of you that defiles you. And I think it's important not to do what I call guerrilla chest thumping, where people go around showing I'm this big alpha person and I'm going to tell you what's right. And if I don't do that, then there's something wrong with me, that I'm weak. They don't want to be weak. And so they go the other extreme and try to, be the hammer that's looking for a nail to hammer down,
So as long as I'm being somewhat of a jerk, I will probably never call myself a Christian. I guess I'd put it that way for sure.
Well, I understand how the name has picked up so much bad connotation now, and it's well deserved in many cases. I mean,
I mean myself. In order for me to call myself a Christian, I feel I would have to be acting like a Christian.
Oh, I see.
I take that. I think that's very important. I really, in the world, like I had a guy just leave a comment on one of my videos. I make videos about Ran and stuff. And the guy left a comment saying how I was fighting in the guitar community and all this. I'm like, yeah, that's true. When I left the religious community, I'm like, well, I think I'll go play around with guitars some. And I had actually a couple atheist guys warn me, hey, whatever you do, don't get involved in this Tonewood thing. These guys are like crazy over there with it. I'm thinking, what in the world? What do you mean? So I went and looked at it. Like, wow, they're actually fighting over Tonewood. Well, I believe in Tonewood. Always thought it made a difference on electric guitars to some degree. So I got involved in it. Next thing you know, I was like one of the most hated in the whole thing. And it was pretty crazy. And then, of course, one of the accusations was, well, there is no Tonewood and there is no God. And I'm like, oh, no. And it was just really crazy, And so it's kind of funny. I ended up being friends with some of the guys, probably one of the biggest guys that was anti-Tonewood. We became real good friends. And still disagree. But I think I learned some things from him and he learned some things from me. We both kind of settled on kind of like, well, maybe it does make a difference here or there or whatever. But they kind of see me as a religious guy. And also, of course, I had the name Saint Brucifer then. Thank you to Ren, gave me that name Brucifer. But yeah, I mean, and the name Brucifer, I mean, the only reason I went with it is I would say, don't call me that. Don't call me that. And they kept doing it. And the more I said don't, the more they did. So finally I said, okay, well, I'll just change my channel name to Saint Brucifer, You can only argue so much.
Yeah, I walked into a lot of baggage and backstory that I had no idea. I'm still learning about that I walked into when I went to Flat Out Elected. A lot of associations that went back, and I found myself getting involved in other people's battles, and
it's ugly, man.
I didn't like that at all.
Nope, it's very ugly. People still talk about the pre-trial thing, trying to pretend that they would decide who was going to heaven, who wasn't, and if they blasphemed the Holy Spirit, which I was told, I don't want to bring that up, but yeah, that kind of stuff is just, and that's why I do what I do. Like I said, I'm a jerk, and as long as I'm being a jerk, I would like to think that if I ever did claim to be a Christian, I wouldn't act like that, at least not quite the same way. I wouldn't cuss and carry on just to mock the ones who do. That is part of my cussing thing, was really mocking people who would claim to be the true Christians while cussing up a storm. And so I would exaggerate on it. Just make a joke out of it. That's my weird sense of humor.
Okay.
Probably
Sorry.
I'm sure it is. Anyhow, that's basically me, where I'm at. Without bringing up theological questions, and I didn't want to do that.
Crashed again.
Uh-oh. I did hear you say I'm crashed again, though.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All of a sudden.
It's
You're cutting out again.
cutting in and out. Yep.
Robot.
Wow, that's. Yeah, I might shut this down pretty quick just because I'm having so many issues with my computer right now. But I just wanted to say, as far as all that stuff with Flat Out Elected goes, is I
lost you again. I wouldn't worry about it.
acting in ways that I didn't agree with. I wouldn't call somebody lost over. I certainly wouldn't do that. But there are certain things that I would expect people to grow spiritually and exhibit. You know what I'm saying? The fruit of the Spirit, especially if someone is claiming to be very familiar with the Bible and have been a Christian for a number of years, I would expect more from them.
But yeah, right. The words gentle, things like that come to mind.
Yeah,
right.
it's just.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, like, I'm actually really gentle, and sometimes even with other Christians, it puts them off. Like, oh, spoken, or I don't say a lot. But sometimes it feels like too much is expected of something. Like where I'm supposed to have an opinion on everything. It's quite correct.
Well, all I know, Paul, is this was a nice hangout. Sorry, I interrupted. Sorry.
Oh, no problem. I'm just having so much issues that people are saying that we're cutting out, and
yeah, I don't want to cause contention either with Flat Out Elected. I mean, I'll do that on my own. I don't want to bring it here. I still probably make on the flat Earth thing. Don't mind me, but.
Yeah, I just thought I should at least publicly say why I'm not there. And it isn't just one issue. It's a whole pile of issues that I just think we needed to part ways. I'm not going to say anything bad about any of them. They're still friends. But I can't be a part of the group because of that, because of those issues. And so I'm not doing my Hangouts out of spite or anything. It's just that it seemed like there's a lot of Christians who wanted a place to just talk about Christianity in a calm manner, Christian issues. And so that's what I tried to pick a day that was not busy, that people could come to. So we'll try this again tomorrow night and hope we don't have so many issues. But yeah, if I can find some better solution, I don't know what it would be other than to get a different computer, which I can't. So there you go.
What kind of computer are you running right now?
I have an Asus N56V laptop.
Okay.
Which it has supposedly decent audio-visual capability and video card, and I'm running Ubuntu Studio, which is meant for that sort of thing. It hasn't helped. I don't know what the issue is.
What kind of CPU and RAM do you have?
I'd have to look it up. Let's see on the. It says I've got an NVIDIA GeForce 650 meg card.
That's fine. Yeah, that's a fine card. Well, okay, so your card then is separate, not just built on the chip, but see what you're
Well, it's just it came with the device. I mean, it's built in. It's just one of the stickers they got on the front. It says Intel Core i7.
Oh, wow, that's really new.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm having such issues.
And what do you have, like 4 gigs of RAM or something like that, maybe? Or
yeah, I think so. I think I have at least that.
Yeah, it should run good, you'd think.
But I think a part of the problem is Chromium. I mean, it's gotten really... Huh?
Have you cleaned it out, or how's it as far as like dust and stuff on the cooling fins, stuff like that inside, or have you
it seems to be... it's been opened up to... we had to replace the keyboard once because I spilled water on it.
Yeah, that's pretty opened up.
Yeah, my husband's really good at the hardware end of things, and so he tore it all apart and put it back together. You know, we dried it all out and got a new keyboard, and it's been fine. It's just been the last week with Chromium. It got really slow, and I think that's why I'm crashing and things are breaking up, because it's after the longer it runs, the worse it gets. And then it'll reset. It's like it's not clearing cache or something, and it has to reset.
How does it run on Windows 7? Have you tried that, or? I
don't do Windows, but I'd have to. Yeah, I don't have a dual boot or anything.
Right.
So I don't know. I'll have to work this out some other time with somebody and see if I can find a browser that will work with Hangouts that isn't Chromium.
Maybe try another distro or something. Just can you run it off of a CD? And I never tried that, but I wonder if you could put a different distro in it and just run it off of a DVD and load up. And I don't know if it's that.
Well, this is actually my 3rd or 4th distro.
Okay.
I had Mint before this, and it had video issues, and I had regular Ubuntu before that. And way back when I first got into Linux, I tried OpenSUSE, SUSE, however you pronounce that. I haven't had much luck with any of it. I mean, it works for general browsing, and I can run my bash scripts and all sorts of things without a problem. But when I do Hangouts, it's an issue. That's really the only time I'm having a problem.
And then learning all the commands, like if you're trying to come up with different drivers and understand how to do all the commands to change them, like for my brain anyhow, it's really difficult.
Yeah, I don't know what to do about it, but I mean, I would get a Windows machine just for Hangouts if I had to, but there's absolutely less than zero money in the budget for that sort of thing. So
I understand.
Yeah. So anyway, I think given all the issues I'm having with Chromium, I'm just going to be limited to maybe an hour or 2 Hangouts with a couple of people and try not to share screens too much.
Right.
So I don't think screen sharing worked too well to begin with, unless you have an awesome computer or something.
Yeah, I had hoped I could get like a desktop where we could pick and choose exactly which hardware we want in it and optimize it, but there's just no money for that. Mm-hmm. This laptop I got because I don't know how many years ago it was when I decided to get into Bitcoin, and I think I spent $100 on Bitcoins. They were $10 a piece then, and it went up over 200, and I thought, oh, it's going to crash. So I cashed out and I bought this laptop with the money. So it basically cost me $100 for this laptop. Wow. And then I'm just crying now because it's gone up over 2,000 per Bitcoin. I thought, oh man, if I had stayed longer.
Well, at least you're there to make a little bit. I didn't make any.
What's that?
So maybe someday something will work out. You can get a cheap tower or something. You know, you figure people, you know, after 3 or 4 years, a lot of people just give up on their old towers. You know, they want something newer and faster, and they dump the stuff pretty cheap anymore. It's a couple years out of date, you know, and you know, like to a gamer, what's fast to a gamer or somebody doing video rendering?
Yeah, the rest of my family, they're gamers, and they have all laptops, but they're gaming laptops, and even those are getting outdated, and they're probably, I don't know, they're Windows machines, but they're big laptops with every bell and whistle.
Insanely fast, usually, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're getting taxed by the games they're playing. I mean, taxed as in, really pushing the limits of their hardware.
Right.
And I'm like, wow, maybe I'll inherit one of those. My older son just got a full-time job as a programmer, and so he might be upgrading one of these days. But
yeah,
I don't know.
I think he could kick a little bit forward to mom. Yeah.
i7 I know is real new. I don't know which i7 it is, but sounds like a nice laptop.
Yeah, if things get too bad with Chromium, I might have to have somebody else run my Hangouts, that run them on their channel or something, because this is getting ridiculous with all the. I mean, right now it's fine, but at any moment it could lock me out.
Well, you said mine acted weird when it came in, but you're using Google Chrome, I guess, right?
I have to use Chrome for Hangouts. Yes, I'm using Firefox for the watch page.
Right.
And it keeps going, unless my cursor locks up and I can't type or anything,
Yeah. What if you reboot before you start a Hangout? I wonder, does that help any, or?
Rebooting, I don't know if I'd get back in 5 minutes.
But I mean,
Is
like
the only thing.
if you do a fresh boot and start a Hangout. I mean, I know you shouldn't have to do that. I don't know what value it would be, but maybe if it's starting to act up, maybe it'll take a while longer.
Yeah, I don't know. I would really like to just solve the problem, but it's out of my hands because this is Chromium that just went bad on me. I don't know why, and it's been after I put in the new OS and it was running. Everything was running fabulous, and then Chromium just did an update or something and hasn't worked since.
Well, I had some trouble with that kind of stuff with Linux too, and yeah, I don't know. The one thing I liked about Linux was you didn't have to worry about getting viruses. And, somebody you click on. Well, sometimes in Windows you click on something for a driver or something, and everything looks legit, and it'll come packaged with extra garbage or who knows what.
Right.
Who knows what.
I think what I'll have to do after I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to shut down because people are saying it's cutting out, but I'm going to try and find a browser that works with Hangouts and just use it for that and keep using Firefox for other stuff. I think that's all I can do right now.
There you go.
But all right. Well, thanks everybody for coming. Hasn't been a lot of people, but it's always a good conversation, and I really appreciate, like I say, different views are fine. Everybody just be rational and calm, and we're good. So.
Well, yeah, and thanks for having me. God bless, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah,
You too.
Thanks, bless people.
You too. Bye, everybody. Also in chat, thanks for coming, and we'll catch you all later and hope that I can do the Hangout tomorrow. If not, maybe I can put up a short video saying where else to go. So we'll be here one way or another. Thanks again, everybody. We'll see ya.